I want to share an early anonymous case study from, for context, someone who recently started therapy. Over a few days, they had 3 dreams, and when we mapped those with Inner Atlas, we could see clear emotional and role patterns emerging. So the first dream was on their street. All the houses were on fire, they were burning down, and all the neighbors had left because of the fires. But it was this person's role to go and lock up all the houses. That was what they had to do in this dream, even though they were burning. And in the second dream, they were preparing for a long journey. They were planning out the logistics with a female friend for a long solo yacht journey, but they were each going separately. There was no known destination, but they knew that they would be on this long journey for a while and alone. And they were focused on planning and logistics, carefully working out what they needed. And in the third dream, this person and their parents were walking around their house, sensing that there were intruders, and they tried to call security. He couldn't type the security company's name into his phone, and the intruders were at the front door and turned out to just be people selling fishing rods. And he said that this conversation that they had was quite vivid, and when he told them to go away, then they did. So on the burning street dream, one of the strongest emotional flows here was from the anchor to the shield and the mask. Their sense of security, the anchor, was under threat, and so defensive roles like the shield and the mask mobilized to create a feeling of control, locking doors even as the structures burned. This was a clear protective pattern wanting security through a period of transformation. Subtler was the disgust flowing from the mask to the spark. There was an aversion towards the part initiating change, the fire being transformation, an internal resistance to letting those old structures go. There was a faint trust as well flowing from the guide to the shield. So a planning instinct was quietly trusting these defensive strategies to keep things contained, even while this change was unfolding. In the yacht journey, a dominant flow of trust from guide to spark stood out. Their internal role of planning and orienting was fully engaged with the role that was initiating change. Even without a destination, there was a sense of capability. Anticipation was flowing from the spark to the anchor, the adventurous part looking back at the secure base, both excited and uneasy about what's being left behind. And there was fear too, from the anchor to the mask, the need for security projecting caution onto the performative, protective layer. And in the intruder's dream, the final one, fear and disgust flowed from the anchor to the shield, and from the shield to the spark. So the secure base of the childhood home was under threat and prompted action and vigilance, resistance to the intruding presence. These figures selling fishing rods were interpreted to be therapy. It was offering insight into the subconscious, that's the fishing rod into the ocean of the subconscious, but in doing so it was disrupting the security of these existing childhood and family memories. Anticipation was flowing from the guide to the mask. Not being able to search the security company's name showed a feeling of incapacity towards providing protection and security. Inner Atlas helps surface not just the surface interpretations, but underlying patterns appear visually and emotionally. Dreams, journals, chats, they become living adaptive maps of internal roles connected by emotions. Insight was provided into how their protective insights, curiosity, and resistances were interacting beneath the surface, which they then brought into therapy and had discussions going from there. So you can see that this was a helpful interim in terms of the person understanding themselves better and what's going on under the surface, and then being able to integrate that into something like therapy. So not a replacement, but an enhancement. And yeah, this is just the beginning of that journey for this person, because these interpretations are noted and they'll inform future chats and future insights and interpretations. So when these patterns inevitably re-emerge, as they continually do throughout our lives, this person will have developed systems and approaches and be ready to tackle them. Will have context that this has surfaced before and this was the best way to deal with it, or maybe let's try something new. And so, yeah, it's, I think, a helpful tool in navigating life to have maps of what you have been through, what you're going through, and that can help us navigate the future.